So this is our project, and we characterized Quentin to inform the audience of the novel's modernist focus, and we focused on themes throughout the book that deal with Quentin and his life and his struggles with being who he is.
Okay, this is the first page of Quentin's section, and throughout reading and annotating this page, I'm going to put a box around the major themes. The first two important themes to notice in this page are the shadows and the time. They appear simultaneously on this page because they both are representative of the same thing, Quentin's internal conflict. He is conflicted between the values that he was taught when he was being raised and the realities of a modern, changing world. And then if you go down to the third sentence, the first part of the third sentence, it's Quentin's father basically telling him that he wants him to preserve the values that his family has cherished in the past. He wants him to keep those alive, those traditions of the past alive. But this is part of Quentin's internal conflict because he's not sure if he believes in those values himself, but he feels an obligation from his family to keep them alive. And then if you jump down to the second paragraph, you see time again, right here. And he refers to it as the long diminishing parade of time. This is because for Quentin, time diminishes instead of moving forward. This is foreshadowing of the events to come in his section, which include, of course, him taking his own life, because his time is diminishing, coming to an end rather than moving forward. Okay, this is page 84 of Quentin's section, and the first thing that I'm going to go over is the part where Quentin is telling the man that works at the watch store that he knocked his watch off his dresser and accidentally stepped on it in the dark. This is Quentin making an excuse for why his watch is broken. In reality, he intentionally broke it because he wants to be released of basically the bonds of time and the darkness that time represents for him. And then down further in the page, Quentin asks the man to tell him if any of the watches in the window are working. And when the man tries to tell him what time it is, Quentin says, "Don't tell me." This indicates Quentin's desire to be released of the bonds of time. He doesn't want to be a part of time anymore because of what it represents for him. And then down near the end of the page, Quentin tells the man that it's his birthday. This is an example of irony because it is the opposite of a birthday. It is the day that Quentin's going to kill himself. So that is a good example of Faulkner's use of irony in the story.
So this is page 90 of Quentin's section, and there are a few important symbols on this page. First, starting off at the top of the page, where it talks about the shadow of the bridge. Now, it's not the bridge specifically that symbolizes anything, but the shadows, because we know that Quentin has many internal conflicts with his family and having to deal with the fact that he needs to live up to everyone's expectations because everyone thinks that he is, quote-unquote, the golden child in the family. So in this particular scene, Quentin is actually at the bridge, and when he talks about the shadow of the bridge, he is relating that back to the significance that the Compson family name is sort of a shadow of what it once was, so it's not the same anymore. And the passage of time sort of shifts Quentin's views on what his family really is. Another important sentence in this section was when he talks about the drowned man's shadow, which it says, a drowned man's shadow was watching for him in the water all the time. Now, this could have a few different meanings to it. The number one meaning is it could be like a foreshadowing of Quentin killing himself. As we all know, he does commit suicide. It could be like his imagination of him being dead. And then Faulkner uses words such as twinkled and glinted to perceive Quentin's thoughts of himself dying as more of like a peaceful way out of his life instead of living in the hardships that he does, having to deal with his family. It also makes the shadows seem as if they are a beautiful thing. And then also it says, if you look down, healing out to the sea, it could be signifying that Quentin would like to take his own life because he feels it's a way, as if the drowned man watching him is healing out to sea. It could be him healing out to heaven, which suggests that the only way Quentin can heal himself internally is to kill himself. So this is page 173 of Quentin's section. As you can see on this page where the italics are, that is one of Quentin's flashbacks, and this one has to deal with his parents. If you go to the middle of the page where it says, I'd have to turn back to it until the dungeon was mother herself and father. This is a metaphor explaining that Quentin feels as though his parents have trapped him in the life that he's living. When he compares it to a dungeon, it also says, then there was us lost somewhere below, even without a ray of light. So Quentin feels as though there's no way that his life could possibly get better from this point on. And his parents pressure him to be the best child in the family, which is hard for him as well. Then it talks about the honeysuckle. And the honeysuckle is a significant object in the story for Quentin's part because he believes that it has sort of a sad scent and symbolizes the chaos in his life that he lives through every day. And it says, it would begin to come into the room in waves, building up, and I would have to pant to get any air out of it. And this means that it's referring to the honeysuckle, but it symbolizes Quentin's life because he feels as though he doesn't really have a life anymore. He has to try so hard to be exactly what he isn't, and so that's what the honeysuckle symbolizes to Quentin.